Thank you so much, Demon Divas. I've practiced it and everything. For your wonderful performance. That's exactly how I sound in my head when I am singing, and we really appreciate your willingness to share your gifts with us. Thank you so much for being here. Good afternoon. My name is Tracy Banks, and I am the president of the University Faculty Senate. And on behalf of the Faculty Senate and the Office of the President, I want to welcome you all here to our second annual presidential address. It's really always a pleasure to come together, and we're especially happy to be here today to hear from President Susan Wente about her first year as a Wake Forester and about her intentions and plans for the year to come. Last year, we greeted Dr. Wente as our 14th president, and she came to us with a history of groundbreaking scientific research and a reputation as a thoughtful and future-oriented leader. She asked us last year to think deeply about the characteristics of a great university, and she challenged us all to embrace the catalytic power of radical collaboration. This afternoon, President Wente will share what she's learned about us in her conversations with people from all kinds of connections with the university, and she will also help us see what the vision is going forward. Recently, many of us have participated in focus groups, and this afternoon, we're going to learn more about Dr. Wente's leadership in a new strategic framework for Wake Forest that will guide us as we act together and act with intention to embody Humanitate in all that we do. Please help me to welcome Dr. Susan Wente.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Professor Banks, for that really wonderful introduction and for your leadership as President of the Faculty Senate. I'm really indebted to you for your service. Thank you. And I also want to share my thanks with the full Faculty Senate in terms of co-sponsoring, co-hosting this address here today. I also really loved hearing the Demon Divas sing, and I agree with you, Professor Banks. That's how I hear myself too. It's really, really amazing. Now, finally, my thanks to every person here today, whether in person or joining us through live streaming, for being here on this Thursday before Thanksgiving. We have so much to be grateful for, so much to reflect upon, so much to be thankful for. And it's important to acknowledge in our gratitude that others in higher education on several campuses across our country this week are grieving. And what I'd like us all to do is really to reflect on that, because these are members of our broader national university community. The loss of life this week, in particular, our sister ACC school, the University of Virginia, has impacted so many. It's with the deepest sympathy and condolences that we stand in solidarity with our colleagues, with our friends, with our family, with students in Charlottesville. So please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, delivering my address to you here today, I indeed stand here nearly 12 months from when I first gave a presidential address to the Wake Forest community. And across the 12 months since then, the warmth, the enthusiasm, and the sense of connection is so memorable. And I believe it is so important that we make time like this to intentionally come together, to intentionally engage with one another as a community. And of course, today, what is today besides just the second annual presidential address by myself? It's Pittsgiving. Okay. I was down there today, and I tell you, any of you who had second or third servings of turkey and pie, I will understand completely if you're tempted to take a little nap during this address. I'll wake you up when we get to about hour 3, okay? So now, as I was preparing for this talk today and our time together, I indeed reflected over the past 12 months on many of the firsts that I have experienced over this year. I reflected on my first Hit the Bricks. I reflected on my first Love Feast. I reflected on my first bowl game win. I reflected on my first commencement on the quad. But the opportunity to experience our traditions together, that's what I love. I love cheering with you. I love raising a candle with you. I love savoring the beauty of the quad during commencement with you. These moments are what make Wake Forest truly feel like home. And they help us navigate during times of change and transition for both society and the university. Now, my year of many firsts indeed gave me great insights into the culture and the people of our great university. And these insights are helping to inform our journey of discovery together, a journey that is being guided by the question, who are we? Wake Foresters, they mark their time by the passage of important milestones. Our students mark progress as they complete each semester. Our faculty and staff celebrate their years of service, and our alumni return for reunions. The story of our university in the same way can be told through its own milestones. As you know, Wake Forest is a short 12 years away from marking the end of its second century in 2034. Time will fly, I guarantee you. So this summer, we launched a strategic framework process to address a fundamental question. What will be the next chapter of Wake Forest's story as a great university charting our course for the 3rd century? To be sure, our strategy for the future must be built on the foundation of what we have already done. We will not take for granted all that has been accomplished so far. Thus, as we write the next chapter, I'm going to focus our time together today on 2 critically important questions. That one of who are we now, and who will we become for future generations? This time last year, I indeed shared some of my initial observations, potential answers to the question, who are we? Weeks and months went by, I continued to listen, and the initial observations became more refined. And during my March inauguration address, I shared a further perspective. As a great university, we are a catalyst for good. That is, a catalyst for access and opportunity, for learning and discovery, for innovation and society. Okay, yes, my experiences as a scientist inform this enzyme analogy. But they also fuel my belief in trust, transparency, and teamwork, and in the power of radical collaboration. Within any biochemistry lab, these are critical elements that drive, indeed catalyze, the process of discovery. The world of science, just like the worlds of the arts, the humanities, the social sciences, engineering, is very much about community. Discovery is not based on one experiment or the results from one lab or from one paper publication or from one book publication. Definitive discovery is based on consensus. Consensus through rigorous debate by a community of experts. consensus that is informed by evidence from individual insights building upon each other, that emanates from different minds and voices, that coalesces around a body of work and tells a story. And in biochemistry, that reveals how physical and biological nature works. Now, as I recently highlighted in my October blog post, Alexander Graham Bell once said, "Great discoveries and improvements invariably involve the cooperation of many minds." At the beginning of this fall semester, our first step in the Wake Forest Strategic Framework process was to seek input from a great many minds and many great minds from the community of experts on Wake Forest. All were welcome, and in total, over 1,000 individuals shared their thoughts and perspectives on what makes us distinctive, the answer to who are we? The strategic framework teams hosted at least 24 listening sessions for faculty, staff, and students. I dedicated my Wednesdays with Wente's lunches with faculty and staff and the Gold and Black Chats with students, which I co-host with Vice President Kid Brown, to create further spaces for dialogue and discussion. Alumni, friends, trustees, all engaged via sessions with our councils and boards. And further, there was an online survey. It was launched for all members of our Wake Forest community to contribute their feedback. From this cooperation, is my time up already? I'm sorry. I can speed up. From this cooperation of many minds, two observations are quite clear. First observation, I am so impressed by the enthusiastic participation we have witnessed. Really, there's a hunger, a positive energy to truly engage. You, our Wake Forest community, are bringing your best to this effort. You are speaking comprehensively to our strengths and our challenges, and genuinely and authentically about what being a Wake Forester means to you. Second, the culmination of all that our community shared reinforces the special place that Wake Forest is. Most clearly, we are already a university whose strong foundation differentiates us from others. We are first and foremost an academic institution with educational and research missions and an embrace of inclusive academic excellence at all levels. We are a vibrant and engaged residential living learning community. We are a D1 Power 5 ACC athletics institution with numerous extracurricular activities and experiential learning priorities. And we are striving to be a responsible, good neighbor to our communities as a partner for economic development and a marquee employer for Winston-Salem and the region. These fundamental elements of our identity, they're not on their own distinctive. Many great universities could claim any of those that I just stated. But what we heard that makes us distinctive is the unique layering of who we are with our strong foundation of core commitments and values. Whether faculty, staff, students, alumni, friends, parents, whoever was speaking, there were at least 3 core commitments echoed loud and clear. You're wondering, what are those core commitments? So first, we are a community that recognizes our people are our greatest asset. our people are what gives us claim to excellence as we live out our mission, whether in the classroom, the lab, the studio, the clinic, the court, or the field. Our distinctive commitments to academic rigor, competitiveness, and leadership and integrity are embraced and embodied by our people. And we take great pride in the remarkable accomplishments of our students, faculty, staff, and alumni. Take, for example, the undergraduate class of 2026. They are the most academically accomplished students and the most diverse in terms of backgrounds and lived experiences to ever enroll at Wake Forest. And earlier this week, we celebrated Alice Hauser's award of a Rhodes Scholarship. She's the 15th Wake Forest Rhodes Scholar since 1986. I'm so proud of her. She's a double major in philosophy and piano performance, and Alice plans to pursue a Master of Science in Refugee and Forced Migration Studies and a Master of Philosophy in Law, with the ultimate goal of promoting justice for populations in need. Earlier this month, I joined many of you at the Employee Appreciation Luncheon, and together we celebrated 334 staff and faculty members, marking a combined 4,400 years of service to the university community. That's amazing. And while some have served here long, we are also welcoming new faculty, staff, and leaders who are embracing our commitment to people and to excellence. To support our people, I continue to be fully committed to fostering a safe and supportive campus environment. With faculty, staff, and students working together, we are addressing issues related to campus climate. For example, I established the University Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, which plays an important role in assessing our progress and ensuring accountability. And my thanks to our students and our student government, who led the effort to recently complete the university's first campus climate survey on sexual misconduct. This week, the results are being shared through a community-engaged approach led by our student government and campus life leaders. Analysis of this data will allow us to deepen our efforts together towards further improving our campus climate. I assure you, even before that survey was completed, actions were being taken to expand prevention and support efforts, including enhancing training and information sharing and hiring Wake Forest's first interpersonal violence prevention coordinator. Now, in considering our equity and inclusion commitments, I also must acknowledge that many factors make this work especially challenging. For example, along with our higher education colleagues across the country, we are preparing for a range of potential outcomes from the pending decisions in the Harvard and the UNC admissions cases currently before the U.S. Supreme Court. Regardless of the decisions, Wake Forest will remain committed to our core values of diversity and inclusion. This is because we believe that bringing together students, faculty, and staff from a broad range of backgrounds, lived experiences, and perspectives strengthens our learning environment, encourages us to engage with diverse points of view, spurs creativity, and contributes meaningfully to holistic student development, all fundamentally part of our commitment to our community and to our people. The second core commitment. We are a community that appreciates and values our shared sense of place. We are deeply connected to our campuses. From here in Winston-Salem with the historic beauty of Renolda campus, the mix of modern aesthetics and historical structures found at Wake Downtown and the Bowman Gray Center for Medical Education, and the structures in which our student athletes define what it means to be a demon deacon, to our growing medical and professional programs in Charlotte, our study away, our study abroad, research sites in Washington, D.C., across Europe, essentially around the globe, and our connectivity to all places through new virtual platforms for working and learning. With such a diverse portfolio of spaces and buildings and strategies to leverage in fulfillment of our academic mission, we must be committed to being good and wise stewards of our places. This fall, on the Renolda campus, we celebrated the completion of the new, old, maybe, Wake Forest Road. Some people remember, and the creation of a new transportation hub. And this past year, we also completed the renewal of our original residence halls with the renovation of Bostwick and Johnson. And this past year, we completed a space utilization study to ensure that our strategy and our vision drive how we use space, not the other way around. This fall, we acted quickly on the study's key recommendation and created a new enterprise-level representative governance body, the University Space Planning Group. Reporting to me and co-led by Provost Gillespie and Executive Vice President Milam, they are charged with guiding future space decisions at the university level. We face significant needs in our academic, living, and learning spaces on Renolda campus. But the study revealed that if we consider our entire portfolio of assets, and if we adopt ways to optimize utilization, then we can create new opportunities to renew the Renolda campus academic core, keeping our academic core in its special place. Over this next semester, I see our top priority as taking actions that enable and support our academic space priorities and the emerging initiatives in the strategic framework. Now, intimately bound with our commitments to both our people and our shared sense of place, we are a community that is actively focusing on expanding our narrative within such. In the spring, I convened an ad hoc administrative committee for honorifics, and at homecoming in September, we celebrated the naming and renaming of 4 campus road sections in honor of 4 trailblazing professors: Elizabeth Phillips, Dolly McPherson, Marjorie Marge Crisp, and Herman Urey. I am committed to adopting this pilot process as an inclusive, rigorous structure for future honorific naming opportunities. So you can see, we are a community that believes Wake Foresters should have inclusive places to learn, live, and work, where all can belong and thrive, and where the richness, complexity, and diversity of the human experience can be acknowledged, valued, and explored. Thus it follows that the third, and at the very core of our commitments, is we are a community motivated by the shared purpose embodied in our motto, Pro Humanitate, as we live out our mission and serve as a catalyst for good in society. For example, to catalyze access and opportunity through scholarship support, we launched the For Humanity initiative at my March inauguration. We set a goal to create 100 scholarships by the end of 2022. We're competitive, right? I am thrilled to report that our alumni and supporters responded to that call by committing to more than 130 scholarships to date. You're going to clap again, because so far, That's nearly $25 million of new student financial aid that'll be added over the next several years. I am so proud. These scholarships create life-changing opportunities for our students. Now, as the initiative has been such an incredible success, we're raising the bar. I am pleased to announce that we are extending the For Humanity fundraising campaign through June of 2023, and we aim to double what we have raised so far to a total of $50 million. Because we are a community that deeply values place, and indeed we are a top national university, we celebrate that the state of North Carolina is our home. So for home, for our home, we are committed to dedicating, in collaboration with our donors, part of these new scholarship efforts to support students from North Carolina, creating greater access and opportunity. This reflects just part of our commitment to our people and to access and opportunity. So in terms of Pro Humanitate and access and opportunity, there's also our need to think about catalyzing discovery and learning, innovation in society. And Wake Foresters are also committed to being courageous in bringing forward new insights, new knowledge, and new solutions to address some of society's most pressing problems. Serving as catalysts of discovery and innovation, I am so proud of so many of our faculty, staff, and students who live this commitment out on a daily basis and in the ways that they contribute to our local and global communities. For example, this fall, Wake Forest faculty partnered with Winston-Salem State, Salem College, Forsyth Tech, and the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Public Schools to write a grant proposal to the U.S. Department of Education to fund the recruiting, preparing, and retaining of a strong, effective, and diverse teacher workforce in our community. And they were successful. Yes. The collaboration was awarded $4.7 million to launch an innovative teacher preparation model to transform the landscape of teacher education in our region. Another example, just last week, we celebrated the incredible work of the law school's Veterans Legal Clinic, one of several experiential legal clinics where our students are guided by faculty in advising and representing community members. Their efforts on behalf of Mr. James Brown resulted in a 70-year reversal of his unjust, dishonorable discharge from the Army and his receipt of the Purple Heart and Combat Infantry Badge. These are just two of so many examples of our commitment to Pro Humanitate in action. So I would argue that while many colleges and universities are being forced to question their very core, we are in a unique position. With our strong foundation, by knowing who we are, combined with our core commitments, we have the great fortune of being able to turn our attention to who will we become? To build our vision for the third century, we need to thoughtfully and comprehensively, with humility, understand why we are in the strong position we're in. How can we maintain it? And how can we utilize it to achieve our aspirational goals? We will need to be nimble and opportunistic across the full scale of the university. We have so many assets we can more fully leverage, from real estate to research collaborations and grant opportunities to art museums, and we need to understand how we must evolve to continue serving best the students and society of the future. During the strategic framework listening sessions, we asked, what are the most important considerations we should take into account as we plan for the future? We heard resounding support for maintaining our core values and our commitments to people, place, and pro-Humanitate. And we also heard a desire for more clarity of direction in some areas, and a yearning for innovation at the core of all we do, a curiosity about what will be the next bold decision that will further define the Wake Forest of the future. When I was working in the laboratory, I always enjoyed collecting data, asking questions. I still love asking questions and collecting data, just a different type. And in a similar way now, we are assembling a treasure trove of information about the breadth and the depth of our Wake Forest community. So now comes the hard part. How do we make sense of what we are learning? And how do we act upon it? With great intentionality, the core planning team of the strategic framework process accepted my charge to translate the collective input we received and synthesize the many voices into broad, compelling, and empowering thematic goals. They have done truly outstanding work, led by Provost Gillespie and 3 faculty vice chairs, Amanda Griffiths, who's Associate Professor and Chair of Economics and member of the Faculty Senate, John Knox, who's the Henry C. Lauerman Professor of International Law, and Corey Walker, the Wake Forest Professor of the Humanities and Director of African American Studies. They've led this core planning team, a mighty team, I heard someone call them. They've been dedicated to listening to each other and to you, to building consensus together, to embracing inclusive excellence, and to Wake Forest's bright future. They take seriously their role in ensuring that all voices are heard, from 18-year-olds to 80-year-olds, from facility team members to endowed professors, to our first-year students to CEO alumni, and across all the schools, from the college to the law school to the divinity school to the business school to the graduate school to the School of Professional Studies. And they remain engaged and committed to the hard work yet to come. My sincere thanks to them as we complete the drafting of the strategic framework throughout the academic year. Now, in giving input into the thematic goals, the core planning team was driven by the desire to identify, first, a distinctive value proposition, distinctive to Wake Forest, our compelling why, which I fully endorse. Our compelling why: Wake Foresters will embody pro-Humanitate at home and in the world. To deliver on this value proposition, to enable this why, 3 thematic goals are put forward as the what. For the first thematic goal, we will be a lifelong learning community that calls all to develop their full potential to contribute in a diverse and complex world. The second, we will foster a community of inquiry through research, scholarship, and creative work that transcends boundaries to address the challenges facing humanity and our world. And third, we will build meaningful, mutual partnerships to honor our commitment to the well-being of our local, regional, and global communities. These themes emerged from the robust feedback from you, from our Wake Forest community. And they were shaped through an interactive and inclusive process. They are broad enough that a range of people and programs can see themselves in one or another or all three of them. And they reflect our foundation and commitments to our people, to our shared sense of place, and to our motto, as well as to our vision for the future. Now, you will also notice what these thematic goals are not. They are not the how. In other words, they do not prescribe specific initiatives. One might even say they're not strikingly innovative or distinctive or surprising in and of themselves. To borrow a quote from higher education leaders Peter Eckel and Kathy Trower, I would say that this is because our strategic framework is not simply what we say we will do, but it is the cumulative effect of what we have done. These three thematic goals are not the end. They are just the beginning of crafting our journey to the third century. When embedded in our core commitments, when leveraging our distinctives, and when empowered by the why of Pro Humanitate, they together form the strong foundation for who we are and who we will become. So where do we go from here? Well, next, there's more work to do. We have to determine the how for achieving these goals into the future. I've asked the core planning team to also give input into the potential working groups that will take on the task of exploring the hows for each of these three thematic goals. We will announce these working groups before the winter break. And the working groups, that doesn't mean they have to work over winter break. Okay. I wanted to clarify that as I was reading it. These working groups will evaluate our current approaches and identify best practices across higher education. They will define what success will look like if we accomplish each goal. And they will ask, what should we do? And what should we not do? These questions will lead to choices we need to make, both among our current activities and our future initiatives within each thematic goal area. Through the hows, we will bring these thematic goals to life. Within the hows is where we will see the boldness, the innovation, the forward thinking that will be so important to our strategy. As we enter phase 2 of our framework process, there will again be opportunities for our Wake Forest community to provide feedback. When the working groups reach out, please continue to participate. Your voices are so important. Let me be the first to acknowledge, this is not a linear process. It's iterative. It's open to revision and to adaptation. And I know that there is a lot going on, and we are moving swiftly. To borrow one more time from my research, this process reminds me of looking at a cell in a microscope. This is an analogy that I shared with our first-year students at Convocation this August. At first, when one looks at a cell under a microscope, what you see might appear chaotic or not seeming to make sense. Reactions and processes are occurring millions of times per second in all corners and parts of a healthy cell. And this is happening along a host of different pathways. Some are linear and isolated, some are parallel, while others are converging. It's complicated. And this is what is happening across a host of different things at this university. But if you are looking at a cell and you keep observing it and you increase the magnification, eventually the logic and the beauty of the cell comes into view. In this way, with our strategic framework, with the university itself, despite so much going on, so many different voices, as we continue to go deep and think big, our future will come into view. My vision is that our strategic framework will ensure that we will be a catalyst for good in society, and we will be recognized further as a national model for graduating leaders with integrity and courage across disciplines and professions, for innovation in curricular, co-curricular, experiential learning, and personal and professional development, for excellence in defined scholarship and research areas across our academic programs and partnerships, for accountability in inclusive excellence, and for entrepreneurial partnerships that advance our mission. Together, we will build a strong foundation for our third century and meet the needs of an ever-changing society. This is what it means to deepen our claim to greatness. This is what pro-humanitate looks like in our third century. This is what it means to be Wake Forest, to be a Wake Forester in 2022 and in 2034. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope that you all take this opportunity to intentionally join me and every other person, every colleague in this room for the reception following. Thank you. Take care.